think that's better. Yeah, that's better. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. If you could please just turn off your microphone if you're not speaking, and that will hopefully prevent any background noise. Also, be as present in the learning space as you can this afternoon. We're going to try and encourage as much active participation in this session as we can. So use the chat pane, make comments, ask questions, and just connect with us and connect with each other. You can also post any resource links or any comments in the chat pane while we go. Any technical issues, just communicate these in the chat as well. And you can also access the Speakeasy support chat function, which is in the portal. If you do lose connection this afternoon, don't panic, just go out and come back in and follow the joining instructions that you had at the start. If you'd like to tweet about your experience this afternoon, please use the hashtag SLF online and just enjoy the session. It'll whiz past. Thank you. So this afternoon, we're talking about how coaching approaches are supporting the education workforce, and I'm joined by Mandy, and I'll just get Mandy to introduce herself.
Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's really nice to see you. My name's Mandy Toogood. I'm one of the lead specialists with the PLL team in Education Scotland, and I've been working alongside Louise on the package of support that's gone into the workforce during the pandemic to support the mental health and well-being of the workforce. And a lot of what we've been doing have been using coaching approaches, so that's why we've given this specific session, and I'm working alongside Louise on this, so I look forward to talking to you more about it.
Thanks, Mandy. And I'm Louise Sanders, and I'm a lead specialist in the PLL team as well. So working on supporting the workforce through COVID, as well as on middle leadership, and dabble a little bit in excellence in headship as well. So may well have seen some of you at different things. So just by way of a connector this afternoon, we're just going to invite you now, if you could just write your name, where you're from in the chat pane. Just have a couple of minutes to think about the best conversation you've had recently and what made it so good. When you've had a think about that, just if you could pop in the chat pane one word to describe coaching. So really asking you 3 things. So we'll give you a few minutes for this. So write your name, where you're from. Think about the best conversation, and just in a couple of words, if you could say what made it so good, and one word to describe coaching. You might want to actually just take a photo of this slide, because we're actually going to come off the slides and just try and have a little bit of a connecting conversation. So just give you a couple of minutes, name, where you're from, what made the best conversation so good, and one word to describe coaching. Okay. Do you want to stop sharing the slides, Mandy, or will I just pick up the comments?
Oh, I can see the chat here.
Oh, you can see the chat. That's great.
Yeah. Can you still see the slides? Yeah.
Yeah, can see both. Okay, so thank you. We're getting some super comments coming through. This is Leanne from Edinburgh. Best conversation when my mentor listened to me fully and she was attuned. That is a really good word. And coaching, empowering. And Mr. Hurley, Donald Hurley, Clackmannanshire. Discovering areas of common experience. That is really important, isn't it? Making that connection with people. And coaching, a critical friendship. We'll capture a lot of these. These are super. Tracy, actively listening. Rosemary, coaching allows me to be contemplative, and that's absolutely true. And we're going to talk a little bit later on about allowing that space for contemplation and for thinking. That's really important. So Kirsty's had a conversation regarding Jota expectations, two-way conversation, taking on board opinions and motivating. Excellent. Lee, best conversation with my team about our shared vision. Again, it's making that connection, having that sort of shared purpose. Alison, best conversation around planning it into headship as it inspired me. Light bulbs, amazing. And coaching being affirming and powerful. If anybody wants to pop their hand up and talk to any of their comments, they're more than welcome. These are super. I'm not keeping up with them, but thank you for keeping them coming. Listening, questioning, and coaching as facilitating. Absolutely. Some really positive words in here, enthusiasm and excitement for next steps. And it's really good to think of coaching in that positive way. So it's not a sort of, not necessarily a reactive model for when somebody's in trouble. It's actually thinking, getting people to think about their next steps in a really sort of positive way. Guidance, Nazim. Honest, open conversation. These are super, and we'll capture all these comments as well. Thank you very much for that. Keep adding them as we're sort of going through this afternoon session, and it just gets us into that sort of thinking space about what coaching actually is. Supportive. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll hand back to you, Mandy, for the purposes of this session. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thanks, Louise. Can you still see the screen? Yeah, still see the slides?
Yeah, just need to pop onto slideshow.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you from me, everybody, as well. That's great to see all of that. And it seems from your answers that quite a lot of you on the session this afternoon have had some experience of coaching and some kind of connection with coaching and education. That's perhaps why you're on the call. So we're going to try and cater for people who haven't had so much experience as well this afternoon, but hopefully we'll be still inspiring those of you that have had some experience as well. So just a little bit about the purpose of this afternoon. What we're really wanting to do, over and above letting you know what we're trying to do at the moment to kind of support the workforce, is to really generate some thinking and understanding about coaching and education. We've been involved in a lot of coaching work over the last year in education, from some of the things that have been on offer during the pandemic to kind of support the workforce, but also we've been involved in starting to develop some strategic work around developing a national coaching strategy in education. So we're really looking at developing those links from supporting the workforce, from supporting all of our mental health and wellbeing, right into supporting children and young people, families and the communities that we work in as well, and coaching really kind of plugging into that space. So just this afternoon, wanting to kind of generate some thinking around the understanding of coaching, sharing some information about how the coaching programs are supporting the workforce and how you can access them. There's some specific things that we've been doing over the last sort of 8 to 10 months, but there's some more things just about to come through the pipeline. So I want to kind of make sure that you're really aware of them and able to access them if you want to. And just this afternoon, just giving you that little bit of time and space to give you an opportunity to think about how coaching might help support you and also support those who you work with, or maybe support those that you lead. So hopefully some of the nuggets that we're putting in this afternoon's will kind of get you thinking more about coaching, but also open out the opportunities for you to be involved in some of the programs that we'll be running over the next few months. So that's the purpose. So I just wanted to really just flag up a couple of coaching definitions here. There's absolutely millions of them online. If you Google in coaching, you get all sorts of things, but these are two of my favorite ones, and I think I like them because they do have a kind of very direct connection to learning, which is what we're all in education for. So the first one here is, coaching is about unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. it's about helping them to learn rather than teaching them. And I like that one because particularly at the moment, we've been doing quite a lot of professional learning around coaching with people across the system. And a lot of feedback that we're getting from people is how it's really helping them to help learners to learn, and thinking about that in slightly different way and kind of opening up that whole area. So that's been really interesting. So that's a good quote, I think. The other one that we really like is the art of facilitating the performance, learning and development of another. Very simple, but that kind of really sums it up, I think. So what we're going to do now is show you a video. I'm going to show you part of it, and it's really it's a video that we use in quite a lot of professional learning that we're doing at the moment around coaching, and it really gets people grounded in that skill of coaching, which is around listening and really kind of creating that space to develop sort of good kind of thinking spaces, which is something that people throughout all the programs that we've done this year have really kind of benefited from. It's just it's quite a long video clip, and I'm only going to show you part of it, and it's all around creating a thinking environment, and it's all about that really kind of core skill in coaching, which is about listening. So this is just really to get us all into the same kind of mindset this afternoon and think about coaching. So when you're watching it, just think about it in your own context and think about how it might be useful, and we'll have a little kind of chat about it afterwards. So just bear with me for a minute while I get the video on, because I want to start it at the right place, and we'll see what you think afterwards. So here we go. Just going to get the right place to start it.
Well, the thinking environment came about through Nancy Klein's work, where over many years as a leadership coach and a tutor and a trainer, and a person involved in education and human development, she came to an observation that the quality of everything we do depends on the quality of the thinking that we do firstly. That sounds fairly common sense, but it does really follow from that is how do we create conditions for people to think well? So the thinking environment looks at what are the conditions that make the difference, that make it possible for someone to think really well for themselves and as themselves.
And what are those conditions?
Well, there are 10 so far. There might be more. One day we might find another. The first is attention. We call it generative attention because when you have somebody's attention listening to you and telling you that what you say is important and interesting and that they won't interrupt you, you can think better. You begin to quieten down, you begin to calm down, your thinking seems to take a different energy of itself. So attention to the level that we believe it's generative. We believe that when you get a certain kind of attention, when it's so profoundly good and so seamless and so sustained, that it begins to help us to generate new ideas. To be good at having attention, you also need to have ease, which is another component. And when you're with someone and they're easeful, and they're not hurrying you to shut up, or they're not fiddling with their pen, or they're not dying for you to finish what you're saying so they can say what they want to say, you begin to think better and more clearly and more lucidly. Another major idea of the thinking environment is what we call assumptions. We believe that assumptions play a fairly starring role in our lives. We assume good things about ourselves, we assume bad things about ourselves. When our assumptions are true, they're likely to be quite liberating. And they could be positive, I can do this, I'm a capable person, I haven't come across it before, but I know what to do now, or I can guess, or I'm a good person. When they're not true, they are normally very, very crippling. And in a thinking environment, one of the things we can do at certain points in the session is help the client to identify any untrue, limiting assumptions they've had, and they've been living them as true for a very long time, and help them to liberate themselves from those. And it's those moments when the clients are thinking for themselves and as themselves that they begin to get these breakthroughs. Another component is that of information. It's very hard to think well if you don't have the right information, either because somebody's withholding information, as can happen in organizations, or perhaps you're lacking in some knowledge that would help you to think well. But a lot of people in coaching tend to think that a lot of coaching is about giving information to help people to think. We don't do that so much. We believe that the human mind can think really, really well for itself.
Okay, so that was just a kind of very short video, just to kind of get you into the mindset, and it's something that we look at quite a lot while we're doing professional learning around coaching. Is that creating the thinking environment and using lots of Nancy Klein's work. So we thought it might be quite an interesting thing to share with you this afternoon. So I hope you found that interesting. So what we've got now is just another little opportunity to get you involved in a conversation about this coaching this afternoon. So we're interested now, just having watched that, what your thoughts about how coaching can support you now. Anything that kind of resonates with you from that little video. What questions do you have about coaching and how using this approach can support the workforce? So anything that you want to ask Louise and myself, just to get a discussion going, anything goes, anything challenging that would be great, and just add these to the chat pane. So, and then we'll try and get into a little discussion about it. So any of your thoughts about how coaching can support you now, and any questions you have about using this kind of approach to the workforce. So just to spend a couple of minutes doing that and putting some comments in the chat pane. And if you'd like to speak, just put speak in the chat pane, or put your hand up. We can bring you in. I'm liking the comment there about the probationers. Is anybody brave enough to come in and share what you're thinking there? That's fine. Just give me the opportunity if you want to.
That's a really good point from Jenny.
Jenny, put her hand
just
up
about the time factor. Oh, and just as I said, right, Jenny, over to you.
That was good timing. It's not like probationers. I work with HNC students in early years, and with the development of the hours in 1140 in early years, the time given from mentors, coaches to work with our students actually in practice is so limited. They could learn so much more if that time was allocated for that discussion, that sharing, and that reflection. But that's everybody in the sector struggle with time, and I think that's our biggest issue, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and what we're trying to do at the moment as well is find some of the kind of best ways of not just finding that time, but allowing people to kind of connect and build a kind of community within our professional learning opportunities as well, that allows people to kind of connect and talk and learn. Because what we're getting at the moment more than ever is how much people are on their knees and how difficult things are. So that's a great point. Thanks, Jenny.
I just say it's also getting the students to think about different ways of communicating with practitioners. It's not all about this face-to-face. There's other ways and other strategies they can use, and I think we have to engage more in that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point as well. Thank you. I think somebody else has got a hand up.
Mrs. James and then Nazim.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. You can put your camera on if you want.
Do you want to actually see me?
Yeah.
It's always good.
Oh, that's not good. No, that's not good. Okay, no, what I was going to say is, because I made the comment about the probationers, and I work with probationers a lot in the school as I'm the probationer manager. I have had people actually say to me that they didn't believe that coaching was something that you could use with probationers because they don't know what they don't know. Whereas I actually think that a whole idea of assumptions that was on the video actually really clarifies that they have assumptions, and yes, I can definitely use the coaching approach for them. So I think it's really important that we as schools, or we as educators, we as people, see that coaching is something that is available at every single level. You know, even the top coaches in the world need coaching at times. And I find it really quite disparaging when people say that just because they're new to the role that they can't be coached.
I think that's a really, really interesting point and a great point to make. So thanks for doing that at this point, because a couple of things have kind of come to my mind as you've said that. One is that coaching is quite different to mentoring, and thinking about the difference. And often people think that coaching is mentoring, so they're kind of thinking that somebody would need a kind of base level of information to be able to share with somebody who maybe didn't know as much as them. But coaching is very different, because you're starting from the point of just really kind of listening and being with the person in front of you who has all the answers within, and that's the basic understanding and belief about coaching. And the more that people do it, the more people realize that can really happen. And that whole kind of thinking environment work that Nancy Klein's done really has proved that a lot. And you know, when people get into it, it can be really powerful, I think. So it's a really nice point that you made there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I think Nazim, I think you had your hand up next.
Yes, I did. Yes, hi there.
Hi.
Just with everything that you're saying and reflecting on the experiences that I've had, I have, and from my experience, had some great opportunities to be coached, to be mentored or supervised. But I've also had negative experiences as well on both those parts too. And I think that's been really helpful to see, well, what actually is good for me and what actually does not work for me. So for instance, something that's good for me is where I am working at the moment. And I think it's because I work as an educational psychologist, and in psych services, we actually have every Tuesday afternoon as protected time to do things like business meeting, one, and then the next week we would do group supervision. And then the week after that, we would do peer supervision, and it rotates like that. And the thing that we use in a group supervision is a solution-orientated approach model to actually dealing with any concerns and any issues. And doing that approach has really helped me with the whole attention, the ease, and any assumptions that I already have, and actually gathering new information and taking that on board. So that approach has really worked for me. I just thought I'd share that.
That's great. Thanks. That's great. And really, I think a lot of people will be quite envious of of your model there, and
Yes.
maybe people can take that away and say, you know, some people do it this way, and maybe that can work. So it's great to kind of hear people's stories like that. So thank you for that. Have we got any more hands up, Louise? I can't see from here.
I don't think so. No, right. No, that's it.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing all those thoughts and examples there. And yeah, so I think it just kind of confirms really that you know, the coaching can be a really valuable intervention, and it's something that we're really wanting to kind of develop further. And just to let you know at this point as well, one of the things that we're doing is developing a strategy for coaching and education across Scotland. So there will be opportunities to kind of help us shape that, because we're not wanting to kind of shape that in isolation from everybody and all the people on this call and other calls. So we'll be keeping you in touch about that, and there'll be more information coming out about how you can maybe support that, right from the supporting the workforce right into how coaching can really have an impact on learning and teaching. And like we said before, working with communities and families. There's some great examples out there at the moment. So we're trying to get a little bit more strategic about all this work as well. So we'll keep you up to date with that.
And there's some great comments in the chat pane, Mandy. I'm not sure if you can see them, but Alison here says we're all busy, but if we make time for coaching and ring fence it, then the benefits far outweigh the time spent on it. Absolutely. Yeah. And Mr. Kinnear, real opportunity to support colleagues through the school to develop our LTA, a chance for us to reflect on our practice and to develop together as a team. And coaching is also an incredibly supportive model for learning conversations with pupils. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the bit of the puzzle that's coming in big time just now. We've done a lot of work over the last year with professional learning and people starting to apply this, and that's the big message we're getting back from people now, is how it's really kind of helping in that learning conversation space with learners, which is really exciting. So thanks for that.
Yeah, and we really are talking about all levels of the system, and Alwyn's put in here creating quality space for reflection and thinking important at all levels of the system. Yeah. Totally. So thank you so much for all those comments.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on now. I'll get back to the slides. Here we go. Just bear with me. Oh, what's going on? Sorry.
Okay, so if you were at our session this morning, which I know some of you were, we are repeating ourselves a little bit, but we're just going to talk about coaching offers that we're providing nationally. So we're providing one-to-one coaching for educators across Scotland, and at last session that was provided by Know You More. And this session we're currently in the procurement process, so we will know in the next few weeks who will be providing that. And that started off as one-to-one coaching for head teachers, and then it was extended to teachers with pastoral or child protection responsibility, teachers new to role, and teachers in their first 4 years post probation. So that was teachers on our Stepping Stones programme. And we also then extended it to CLD managers and to early learning and childcare as well. So there were distinct groups across the workforce that were benefiting from the coaching. Also last session, there was supervision spaces for taking care of yourself and taking care of the staff you lead. This year, based on our learning from last year, we're actually providing support for taking care of yourself, but also for leaders in taking care of the staff you lead. So we're actually sort of splitting that into two separate offers. Again, this is still in the procurement process, so we're not sure who's going to be leading on that, but whoever it will be working very closely with them. And also professional learning opportunities to build coaching capacity in the education system. And so we had some national offers run with colleagues from around Scotland last session, and we're looking at how we can build on our learning from that and how we can extend that into this session as well. So there's lots going on, but I think it looks like lots of sort of different offers, but as we've talked about, that space for thinking and that space for learning and reflecting and then thinking about next steps, that all the offers have that in common. It's just that time just to stop and be listened to and think, and that's just so very important. It's important even before pandemic, and all this was all in the pipeline before pandemic, but obviously the pandemic actually accelerated the process, and it's as important now as it ever was. So we're working really hard on getting this up and running as soon as we can.
Just going to pause just for a moment there just to see if anybody's got any questions about those offers, particularly because there's quite a lot in there. And can I just add something about the professional learning offer, Louise?
Of course.
Just kind of building on what Louise was saying, that the national professional learning offers have been offered nationally, as it says on the tin. And what we're really interested in doing now is working with you as our stakeholders to design the best way to kind of support people developing their own coaching cultures and also their own skills to build that capacity in your own setting. So we're quite interested to hear from you and also to talk with you about how that might be best designed or received in the future, because we now have a big pool of people across the country, but what people are asking for now is more kind of localized support. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in as well. But if there's any questions just now or any thoughts about that programme, just again put them in the chat pane or put your hand up. Mrs. Dakers, you've got your hand up. Do you want to come in?
Alison.
Alison? All right, yeah.
Hi there. Hi, ladies.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. I thought I'd just come in and let you know that our one of our cohorts has just finished on Monday, actually, of the national programme. So that was the 6th session Twilights that we were offering, facilitated by Fife. And actually, they've asked for more national offers like this because they're spreading the word. Because they've actually shared with us that they found it really valuable to network across the country, not just within their own local authority. They found that an incredibly useful experience. So I would share that informally with you.
Thanks, I really appreciate that, Alison. Thanks for coming in there and building on what we were saying there about the programme. So Alison has been delivering one of the national programmes that I was just talking about there. So great to hear that that's, you know, people are wanting more of that, and we're absolutely not going to be stopping that. That's something that we're wanting to keep going this year. I think over and above that, or what might underpin that, is more kind of local support to then help people to sort of build their capacity locally, you know, and working with those people that you've been training, which is a really valuable capacity we've got now, and we don't want to lose that, to kind of really support them. So yeah, that was great timing there, Alison. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you'd think we'd planted you.
I know. I think we might have another plant coming in here. Owen,
I think Owen, yeah.
It might appear that way, but hi there, everyone. Yeah, just building on what both you and Alison were saying, a similar situation, because we've really been building capacity with colleagues to coach and to coach others. But what we're finding they're looking for now is how to develop and grow that in their schools. So we're actually finding that what we're moving on to sort of work with them to develop is some sort of improvement activity, where we're going to be working with just a small number of the coaches initially who are trying to move forward coaching and build capacity in their schools, but very much looking at it from a point of view of what's the culture and the climate like, very like the GTC does with their professional learning climate, if I'm honest. But I think there's a real opportunity there, you know, once people have the confidence and the skills themselves to start coaching, to think about how they get that climate and those relationships right in their schools, to start to take that forward with their colleagues. So I'm more than happy to discuss it with colleagues and to share what we've done so far and what our plans are, because I think the more heads we get together, the better it would be. So just wanted to let you know that's where we're going with it.
Thanks, Olwen. That's great to hear that. And Olwen's been involved. You've been involved in the shaping the strategy as well, which we're about to kind of start. We've had a little bit of a pause over the summer with everything going on, but we're about to kind of start that as well. So I don't know, Olwen, if you want to put your contact details in the chat pane. No pressure if you don't want to, but if you're okay with people contacting you, you could maybe do that, or people could come through myself or Louise. That would be great. Thanks for that. Any other thoughts or reflections on the offer? Have we put in the chat pane yet, Louise, the links to the websites? And
they're at the
very top. Yeah. So at the top of the chat pane, you'll see all the links to the website and the places where the offers will be put to enable you to kind of book onto them. As Louise said, we're still in the middle of procurement, but over the next month, these offers should become live again, and we'll get some quite kind of wide-reaching comms out about that. But if you don't see anything, or you're wondering over the next wee while, Louise and I are more than happy for you to kind of give us a nudge. Oh, Nazim's saying that they're not at the top. The
yeah,
web
I'm just popping them in now.
Okay,
yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks very much.
There you go.
Do we have somebody else's hand up here, or is that an old hand? Olwen, have you got your hand up again? Do you want to come in?
No, sorry, Legacy.
Historical hand.
Okay, should we move on then?
Yeah.
Is there something else? Yeah.
If you've got any questions, just keep popping them in the chat pane, and we can pick them up at the end.
Yeah.
So we're just going to move on now, just for you to have a bit of time to reflect and also share as well. So we're going to think about, and it's actually just hits on what you've just been talking about, Olwen, about developing that coaching culture and that sort of way of being in your setting. So, and this is a tool that we use quite a lot for the end of professional learning sessions, where we're just thinking about what we're already doing. So what we want to keep, what we perhaps want to start doing, possibly as a result of anything we've heard about today, and what we need to stop doing. So it's entirely up to you. You can sort of journal, you can just think in your head, or if anybody would like to share in their chat pane just about something that they want to keep, something that they want to start and something that they want to stop, just to allow that coaching to perhaps either further develop or even start. It depends where you are in your sort of coaching culture journey, really. But if you want to share and unmute and have a little chat, there's still time. I've also popped in the chat pane link at the very top. I'll pop it down again. And this is a link to a forum. And it's just for you to share any of your thoughts around coaching and what you're already doing with us. But also, if you want to share your email address, and we can keep in touch with you about, when these offers are actually going to be live. So I'll pop that link in the chat pane as well. So we've got about sort of 10 minutes. So if you want to do the keep, stop, start, and we can pick up on that. And then if you've got time just to do the questionnaire, that would be really helpful. It's just, I say questionnaire, it's just one question, so it shouldn't take too long. That's in the chat as well.
Yeah, really keen to keep in touch with you. So if you have a minute to fill that in, and even just give your contact details if you want us to keep you in touch with developments, that would be great.
I'm not sure that's copied very well. Hang on, I'll do it again.
So I'll just pause for a couple of minutes to let you have a think about that.
Oh, that's better. Oh no, I've now copied the video. So it's the one, it says sharing information about any coaching programs you've been running to support for the mental health and wellbeing of the education workforce. Quite a long title, that. Thanks, Olwyn. Keep connecting and sharing and building the opportunities to do this. Absolutely. Be interesting to see if anybody needs to stop doing anything. Sometimes that's the hardest bit. Thanks, Nazim. Keep listening and giving good attention. Stop allowing my own biases to make false assumptions.
That's a tough one, especially when we're under pressure and we feel it, and particularly if you're in a kind of leadership position as well and you're just needing things to shift, that can be hard.
That's interesting, Mr. Hurley. Stop insisting on the use of coaching wheels. Would you like to just unmute and just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, took me a while to find the unmute button, actually. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking particularly about the context of PRD, professional dialogue. I know that some places in the rush to try and embed this practice, it has been overly guided, and practitioners are being not just encouraged, but indeed are being directed to use coaching wheels. And I'm sure there are plenty of people for whom that's exactly how they think. I'm certainly somebody who doesn't think that way, and I would find that an intolerable imposition. And I don't lack the courage to say so. I'm a union activist, and I'm also a learning rep, an EIS learning rep. So I'm not shy about making these points, but I know that many people are, and are feeling themselves shoehorned into a process that doesn't actually suit them. It's actually not coaching at all that is happening in that situation. And I made a comment earlier on that one of the things that I find essential to any coaching is that the reviewer or the coach or whatever is coming to it without an agenda, that the ownership is with the person who is being coached, and that the conversation is indeed a dialogue, and that any agenda or any ownership is entirely with the person who should be the focus, really, because it is their reformulating of their priorities and of planning their learning, and of making contact with their professional identity, if you like, that's actually most important.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and that's such a good point. Obviously, if the coachee decides they want to use a coaching wheel, great, but if it's a hufter, it absolutely isn't in the spirit of coaching. That's a really good point. Lee, sorry.
The other thing you've hit on there, which I think is important to outline, is that coaching can be used in all sorts of different contexts, and if you're using it in a kind of PRD sense, then it becomes something quite different, because there's a different kind of power relationship there as well. And I think what we've been broadly talking about this afternoon is coaching in that space that's kind of away from that kind of environment. But we have to recognise that there's lots of different places that coaching does happen. So I think it's a really good point you've made, and I think people need to think about that in the context of where they're putting coaching into their working environment, is to why they're doing, what's the purpose of doing it. I'll just throw this in very quickly, conscious the time's running out, but we're doing a coaching program across Education Scotland at the moment, which is completely away from any PRD or any HR kind of processes, and we've got volunteers coaching each other in Education Scotland from all different levels of the organisation. It's all kind of randomly done, so that's been a really kind of interesting kind of test bed for that. But so, and I guess the other point I just want to make is that the coaching wheels can be used in all sorts of different contexts, but if they are used in that PRD session, then they have to, people have to understand what they're using them for. So that's a really good point you've made there. Thank you.
And we've got Lee. Lee with hand up. We've got 3 minutes. I'm not sure whether we'll just get cut off. We were yesterday, but we'll see. So Lee.
Hi, it was just a point on the coaching wheel approach that I know that a lot of people will be using. I think that there's a real danger with it, that sometimes you take a deficit model and you start to try and fill the holes that a person has. So a person will be drawn towards trying to address the points in the coaching wheel they've scored lowest for, when in actual fact their impact on the system can be greatest when we let them just fly in the areas that they're really passionate about. And that's just a small point that I'm really passionate about.
The small point, but a really well made one, I think. And as somebody who understands about coaching, would hopefully kind of pick that up and really kind of look at being guided by the person that they're coaching in terms of the areas that they're wanting to work on, and keeping that coachee right into the centre of it all. That's a really nice. Sorry, Louise, did you want to come in there?
No, that just agreeing on that. And just saying thank you. I can't pick up all the points in the chat pane, but thank you so much. It's amazing to read how many people are going to sort of stop and start doing different things. So we're almost finished. So if you could just answer the question in the form and leave your contact details, because we really would like to keep in touch with you all. And
conversations going.
Yeah, definitely. And just want to say, for me, thank you very much. The time has just whizzed by. 3/4 of an hour just isn't long enough, just to, especially once you start talking about coaching, we could go on forever. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Andy. Thank you for coming along, and like Louise said, fill in that little form so that we've got your contact details if you're interested in having more conversations around this. It'd be really helpful. It's great for us to be able to speak to people directly like this. And have a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you.